are you ready for a story time? Because this is going to be a long story time. But I'm going to do it like part 1, then part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. And I'll do a little playlist. So yeah, I'm going to talk about EDS and POTS and mast cell and Addison's and all my diagnoses and how they kind of came about. So I was going to start right at the beginning. So stay tuned if you want to listen. Right, are we comfortable, everyone? Right, so let's start right at the beginning. I was born into this world on 12th of August 1994, and I was actually late, but yes, I was quite a healthy baby. Now looking back, as a youngster growing up, I was very flexible, hypermobile, but when you're a child, you just kind of think, your parents just kind of think that's normal. Babies are very hypermobile. And when you sit, in the W position, it's just normal. I can't really show you here, and I've got quite a lot of pain in my hips at the minute, but sitting in different positions was normal for me. So growing up, I had a lot of problems though with my bladder and my bowel. I had constant constipation, and I had UTIs from 6 or 7. I was under a urologist. I went and they did the thing where you go to the loo and empty your bladder. So they scan your bladder, go to the loo, and then come back and see if there's anything left. And there's always a bit left, but not enough to need a catheter or big intervention. They just said, come on, you're holding in your urine, please try and go to the loo more. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm trying. But I was on UTI, so I had UTIs constantly from, I'd say 6, 7. Then I was put on trimethoprim for about 2 years every night. I remember it tasted disgusting. The only good thing about tube feeding is that you don't have to taste medication now. Oh my gosh, those days. So yeah, I was on trimethoprim for about 2 years prophylactically, and I had loads of antibiotics as a child growing up. And like I said, I had problems with my bowel and constant constipation, a lot of pain when going to the toilet. But I didn't know it was normal. I just kind of thought, this is normal. So I didn't know it wasn't normal. I thought it was normal. And my joints were quite flexible. I wasn't the most flexible in my class, I'd say. So some people have hypermobility, was in when they're brushing their teeth, they can dislocate, and I don't have that. But I could sublux joints, and I was bendy, and I had a lot of pain. But again, I didn't know it wasn't normal, and had a lot going on in my childhood and life at times, so it wasn't a priority. And I always was quite fainty, as in I could faint easily as a child and teenager, and I had often had times, not joking, where I literally would just lie on the floor. This one time we always remember really vividly now as a family. I was coming back from something in town, and I said to Mum, I need to lie on the floor. And I said, I need to lie on the floor, right now. No, right now, Mum. She's like, yeah, I'll go back to the car. And then I got on the floor. I was about 9 or 10, and I just laid on the pavement, on the floor. And then I didn't pass out, but I just felt so dizzy and so not with it. And I felt a need to lie on the floor right at that moment. We just the docs put it down to, I don't know, fainting, not eating enough, anxiety, all those sorts of things. And that happened a few times growing up as a teenager. And I was bullied a lot as a teenager in school, so it was put down to bullying, anxiety, the sort of things. And then when I got to kind of 13, 14, I got a lot of kidney infections that landed me in hospital and antibiotics. And I went to hospital a lot of time with tummy pains, but they didn't kind of know what it was. They said it was growing pains, period pains. I got investigated for endometriosis, appendicitis was taken out. Appendix was taken out at 16. They didn't find I can't say it, oh my God, endometriosis, but they did find adhesions. So they kind of said, it's not endo, but there is adhesions attached to your bowel and stuff. So they removed them, untangled them. And I kept being in and out of A&E, like I said, for tummy problems, but kind of not knowing what it really was. And then that's kind of part 1 of growing up. And I always had palpitations, but again, it's put down to anxiety. And my blood pressure fluctuated so easily. But again, it was just put down to anxiety and just me. And yeah, a lot of it was put down, unfortunately, to mental health and growing up. And just, they were symptoms, but they weren't bad enough to need real intervention. And they were all mixed together. How do you put UTIs, constipation, hypermobility, palpitations, fainting, fluctuating blood pressure, fluctuating heart rate, how do they all go together? At the time, no one put into kind of my life. Basically, when I finished school, but then when I was 16, 17, I did do sixth form, but I really struggled. My health was not good at all. I was struggling with my walking. I kept fainting more. I had a lot of those heart palpitations, but I was too scared to go to the doctor then, because I felt like I was just being fobbed off constantly. and how I was on constant laxatives. I had bleeding with I'd bleed like as in I would when I was going to the toilet bladder wise, I would pee out blood. Sometimes it was that bad. It was so stinging and painful, and my periods were so heavy and bleeding, and just everything was just a mess. And I had a lot of time off school because I just was struggling so much with chronic pain as well. So I did do sixth form, but I struggled quite a bit. And then I really wanted to do nursing. I was desperate to be a nurse. I just hated being sick, but I wanted to give back to others, and I think I would have made a really good nurse. And so I also had a time when they thought I had meningitis twice, because I had a severe headache, light sensitivity, chronic pain all over, and was throwing up. So I had 2-3 lumbar punctures, which were clear, but they said it could have been viral meningitis. But yeah, so I had lots of constantly different things popping up here, there, and everywhere. And no one could add them together, connect the problems. And then I still wanted to be a nurse, and I needed a gap year. I didn't have all the levels to go to nursing uni, and I wasn't at that point in my life that I could go then anyway. So I thought, why not go? Because I want to be a children's nurse. Why not aim for the biggest hospital there is, Great Ormond Street? So I did, and I got in as a volunteer at 18 years old. And what's funny is one of my brother's friends tried, and she was in her late 20s, didn't get through, because it's actually a really thorough process. You go through a 3-day thing, right? And you do this whole assessment and group activities, and they're watching you and writing down notes, and only a few of us got through, and I felt so proud. And that time volunteering I did just 2 days a week was just amazing. I absolutely adored it. I was on the CF ward, cystic fibrosis ward. I worked with patients in outpatients and many in the play therapy. I met Shanna and Lisa, who are 2 play specialists there, and absolutely adore them. I'm still friends with them now. Shanna's on my Facebook a lot. If you follow my Facebook, you'll see she comments all the time. She was incredible as a play specialist. And yet my health still wasn't great, and I had a few emergencies while I was there, which was awkward, a few ambulance trips. And then I was living up here with my grandparents, actually, and then I moved into a flat which had stairs. Stupid idea now, but at the time, it's fine. It was a great little flat. I could rent it with a bit of support from my family for the money. And I then got a job as a support worker at the epilepsy centre, working with people with epilepsy and brain injuries. And I absolutely loved that. On one of my first shifts, I ended up taking an elderly man to hospital with pneumonia, and I absolutely loved it. I ended up staying 5 hours overtime in hospital, leaving at 2 a.m, and I was just buzzing, and I felt like I was so helpful, and we stayed with him, supported him, advocated for him, and I just felt like I made a real difference. And I'm not going to lie, I miss that. I miss that feeling of feeling like I can make a difference, and even if through these TikToks I can make a little difference, that's lovely, because I'm so sad that I can't do that job that I really loved. And then what happens is what I talked about on the other videos, my head injury. So if you didn't see that, watch when I talked about my head injury. And then I'll go from there in the next video. So that was a little bit about my early life. And yeah, so wait for part 2, which is going to be about the head injury, and then after that, and the diagnosis of POTS, which is what came next. EDS does come, but POTS comes first. So let's see how that got diagnosed, and then we'll move on from there. Hope you enjoyed this. Any questions, let me know. Anyway, it might be me talking to the camera, rambling on, but if it just helps one person feel less alone or raise awareness of things, also doctors not to just put things down to anxiety, then yeah, and if we knew now what we know then, they might have connected all the, if you can't connect, no, what's it, if you can't connect the issues, connect the tissues, and that's what is coming soon. But yeah, wait for part 2. I'm going to put this in a little playlist. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but look at my playlist and it'll be one of them. Thanks for all supporting me. It means so much.